the Ravid citing the Yerushalmi. When's the Ravid use Yerushalmi? Who was the one who gave the example? It was Yoni who said it right there. Oh, he knew what I was getting at. There's just some examples. We're not going to go into them. Why it'll take away time for you. Look at Kilayim 1:6. You open up Zroyim. This is the book of Zroyim. Right in the first chapter of Kilayim. Kilayim is the first section in Zroyim. And there, Maimonides rules that mixing seeds of trees with others, or with each other, or with vegetables, and then you plant them. Why? You want to plant an apple tree and carrots, okay, or apples and pears next to each other. That's permissible. Period. Trees is not included in the prohibition. While the Ravid, based on the Yerushalmi, he says it's usher. It's usher in Eretz Yisrael to do a thing like that. You're familiar with this? You're nodding like, okay. Have anybody here ever planted a tree? You've planted a tree from a seed? Okay. So you put the seed directly in the ground, or you first put in a pot and then become a sapling? What? Okay, well, that's the way sometimes they did it. Here it's talking about the seed, like apple seed plus carrot seeds. Carrots have seeds? Yes, carrots have seeds. Well, there in the leaves you have these little seed things, and it's not coriander. Coriander is a different vegetable, I think.
There's one of them. One of those spices is carrot seed.
Yeah, maybe caraway seeds. Oh, sounds like it. Okay, so they're the Ravid. This is a Lamaisa, by the way. This machlokas. The Rambam paskins something, gives a heter, and Ravid says no such heter in Eretz Yisrael. How does the Ravid know that? Yerushalmi. So Ravid Lamaisa brings Yerushalmi. Same thing in a parak later, 2:6. He brings Yerushalmi again. In 3:16, get this one. Maimonides permits one to plant barley, for example, right next to his friend's wheat field. What does that do? Really, you're not supposed to plant barley and wheat so close to each other. That's kilayim, grain with grain. Barley and wheat are separate grains. But if this is where our property line is, see, there's tiles on the floor. I have wheat in my field. Here's the property line, and Josh has barley. That's fine because people know that there's a line between the property, even though they get right up to each other. Okay, so that's the Rambam's psak, and you don't need any spacing. Whereas the Ravid brings Yerushalmi and says that you should have a spacing. L'chadchila, you should have a spacing. The Rambam says you don't need a spacing. And by the way, that also is Ravid, bring Yerushalmi, Lamaisa against the Rambam. And do you know who paskins that way like the Ravid? The Chazon Ish. Okay, so examples right there. And this is the best one. When you go to, there's 3 examples in Hilchos Kriya Shema. You'd open up Sefer Ava right then and there. Halachas 2:9, 3:11, 4:7, and 3:6. All those halachas I just mentioned are where the Ravid brings up the Yerushalmi to point out something that the Rambam is missing there. And this is the best one, 3:6. It's basically sort of a home run. And get this. Anybody familiar with what the Ravid says there? No one here knows Ravid by heart?
I'm cutting that call.
Yeah.
To use the Yerushalmi.
Yeah, but more than that, he says. He says like this: Tzoas Adam, v'tzoas Klavim. Okay? And Mei Raglayim. You have to stay away from excrement when you're saying Kriya Shema. So the Rambam here says, V'mei Ragli Behema Korin Kenegdon. There are certain behemoths. You have your cow. Cow, just does his thing on the floor. Ketanim. On the floor, you don't really have to go so far away from that. That's not so offensive. So that's behemoths. And then the Ravid says, Omar Avraham, Zeha Mechaber Darko Liot Someich Al Yerushalmi. This author or this writer isn't his derech to rely on the Yerushalmi. The Ravid also noticed that. The Ravid says Rambam holds like Yerushalmi. Ravid even more so. But by the way, he says if he holds so much like Yerushalmi, v'chan lo samal. Why is he leaving out the Yerushalmi here? Rambam's not enough of a Yerushalmiist. What does he say? Yisham Amru, Mei Raglav Shel Chamor Shabami Naderech Asur Likrot Kenegdo. If the Rambam was correct, Mei Raglaim of Behema, Chamor is a Behema. It's Behema Tameya. It's Behema Gasa. Rambam didn't give a chiluk there. But the point is, if you have a donkey that just came from a long journey, its urine is actually quite offensive. So you can't say Kriya Shema where the donkey does his business. The Chain Soas Tarnagolim Ha'aduma. Okay? If the Tarnagolim have red excrement, for whatever reason, that's also something that you should stay away from when saying Kriya Shema. The Rambam allowed for yes. So this is just a perfect case in point where I think I brought 7 examples where the Ravid brings Yerushalmi in basic halacha l'maisa, and the last one even asked why the Rambam's not bringing these Yerushalmis and holding like them. Okay. So, and we also had that the Chazon Ish backs up the Ravid on this one. So these are all examples of what we would call Torat Eretz Yisrael, using the Yerushalmi as a legitimate source.